Good morning, class. This week, because we don't have social studies or science on Friday, we're going to take the whole reading test. So we're going to read both and do all 20 of the questions, and then we're going to write our essay. I want you to start thinking about the essay as we read through the story, just in case you want to underline or highlight anything that might help you with that. It says, explain how the poems In Trouble with Poetry and A Visit to the Zoo help the reader understand the points of view of the characters in the story. Support your answers with clear text evidence. Trouble with Poetry. In shock, I listened to Mrs. True describe our newest writing assignment. Did she actually think I could write poetry? Boy, I already know how he feels here. Doesn't seem like he thinks he can do any poetry. My mind was spinning as fast as a top. Notice the comparison, mind spinning as fast as a top. I shut my eyes and focused on listening to the rest of her discussion. Anything can inspire a poem, Mrs. True was saying. You could write about things that you see every day. Poets sometimes write about experience they've had or emotions that they felt. I glanced over at my friend Nate and tried not to groan. Another example that he doesn't feel so hot about this poetry stuff. I'm writing little essays there to let me know that those are going to be my points for my essay. What could I write about? My life wasn't interesting or inspiring. No one wanted to read a poem about my messy room. That's kind of funny. Or about my little sister, the pest. And there was no way I was writing about my feelings. Then I realized Mrs. True was still talking. Take out your journals, she instructed. We will be spending the next 20 minutes brainstorming ideas and writing rough drafts of our poem. Remember to include some poetry elements that we talked about this week. Your poem must rhyme and have stanzas. You should also use a few similes and metaphors. Great, I muttered under my breath. With a huge sigh, I dug my journal on my desk. I slapped it down and opened to the next clean page. Boy, he is really upset. He must not like writing poetry. Mrs. True looked at me when she heard the slap and walked over to my backpack. Is everything all right, Ellen? She asked. I just don't think I'm much of a poet, Mrs. True, I explained. I don't know where to begin. Try thinking of things that make you happy, said Mrs. True. It might be easier to write about something that makes you smile. As she walked away, I thought of the things in my life that made me the happiest, like a speeding train. Trouble crashed into my thoughts. You see, Trouble is the name of my dog. She got her name because she was always getting into trouble. I had a million of stories about her. Suddenly, my hand was a jet flying across the paper. That's crazy. I bet that's going to be a test question right there. Hand compared to a jet, obviously a metaphor. Trouble was a great inspiration, and I quickly filled my page with great ideas for my poem. I turned to clean page and I started a rough draft of my poem. Trouble is the name of my dog. She hops and jumps like a frog. She tears up our shoes. On sofa she chews. I wish she'd sit still like a log. Oh, what a cool rhyme scheme. We get A, B, B, and then we end with another A. She jumps through the back door screen. She licks my soup bowl clean. She barks at cars. I'll send her to Mars for a break from the wild machine. But Trouble is loyal and true. She sticks to my side just like glue. I love every part, her big eyes and big heart. She cheers me when I am so blue. What a cool poem. I pushed back from my desk and I grinned at my paper. Maybe writing poetry wouldn't be so bad after all. I had a great subject who was sure to give me plenty of ideas for a long time to come. My goodness, at the beginning it sounded like all bad news, bad news, bad news, bad news. Don't like poetry, and bam! Notice what happened when she tried it. She worked hard, and she came up with an amazing poem. Now answers numbers 1 through 10 based on trouble with poetry. And that was kind of a fun play on words because trouble means she was struggling with it and trouble was her dog. Who is the narrator of the passage? All right, who wrote it? So Nate was the friend, Trouble was a dog, Mrs. True was the teacher, and Ellen was the person who was being talked to. Okay? So who wrote this passage? It says I, and who was writing it? Go ahead. You can put that in your answer key. Number 2. It says, read the following sentence from the passage. My mind was spinning as fast as a top. I shut my eyes and focused on listening to the rest of her discussion. Why is the author comparing Ellen's mind to a top? My mind was spinning as fast as a top. Alan was rolling his head in circles. Alan was thinking of his new toy top. Ellen is standing on his head and spinning. Okay, well that one's definitely not it. Ellen has many thoughts going through his mind. Okay, you can put that in your answer key. So far so good. I'm pretty sure that those two should have been pretty easy for you. Number 3. It says, read the sentence from the passage. Like a speeding train, trouble crashed into my thoughts. What does the simile like a speeding train mean in the sentence? Angrily, quickly, slowly, weakly. And obviously it wasn't angrily. So quickly, slowly, or weakly. Speeding train. Which word would describe a speeding train? Moving on, number 4. The point of view of the passage helps the reader better understand. Whose thoughts could you read? Whose thoughts did you know? Whose feelings did you know? Was it Ellen's, Nate's, Trouble's, or Miss True's? Number 5, read the sentence from the passage. We will be spending the next 20 minutes brainstorming ideas and writing rough drafts of our poems. What does brainstorming mean in this sentence? To copy what others are doing. To do as you are told. To think of ideas. To follow a plan. What does brainstorming mean? Number 6. Read the following lines from the passage. Trouble is the name of my dog. She hops and jumps like a frog. Why is the author comparing Trouble to a frog? Trouble is a frog. That one's out. Trouble eats insects. I don't remember reading that. Trouble makes frog sounds, or Trouble moves around a lot. Which one would be why you would compare it to a frog? Number 7. What evidence from the text shows Ellen's feelings about poetry? Then I realized Mrs. True was still talking. Did that talk about her feelings towards poetry? I glanced over my friend Nate and tried not to groan. Well, if I groan, do I show feelings? I turned to a clean page and started a rough draft of my poem. As she walked away, I thought of things in my life that made me happiest. Now, guys, I want to eliminate the last one there because that's not her thinking about poetry, and some of us might have been confused because it says happiness there. Of the other 3, which one was she thinking about poetry? Number 8. If the passage were written from Mrs. True's point of view, the reader would know what? Well, we knew it was written from Alan's point of view, and so what do we know? Well, we know what he thinks. Now, what if it was from Mrs. True's point of view? What would we know? That Trouble is a cute dog? that Ellen glanced at Nate, what she, the teacher, thinks about poetry, or what Nate writes a poem about? What would you know about Mrs. Trude's point of view? Number 9. Why does Ellen love trouble? Trouble jumps through screens. If your dog jumped through your screen, you had to pay a bunch of money. Would that be why you love him? Trouble causes problems. Trouble chews on the sofa. Or because Trouble is a loyal dog. Number 10. Read the following sentence from the passage. I wish she'd sit still like a log. Sitting still like a log. Now, logs are dead. They don't move. What does the simile sit still like a dog mean? Be quiet. Be nervous. Stop moving. Be rough like wood. All right, guys, take a break, get a little snack, do some exercise. I'm going to do my push-ups, and we'll be back for the second part of our test.